It's another Manly Monday, and this Manly Monday, the video is called, manspeak mistakes. Let me elaborate on that, because people don't tend to stay hinged. Please stay hinged. The underpinning of this is the reality that men and boys are socialized to shut down emotions and silence needs. And that can lead to communication elements that don't communicate things you intend to, or do communicate things you probably don't intend. And as part of meeting your own needs, it's better to understand and how you're coming across with some of the things you say, because these are all normal statements. Like, all of these are things that have been said to me in the last couple of weeks. So before you go, literally no one talks that way, you literal idiot. That's one of the things on the list. It's happened recently, and in some cases more than once. And, these are things I've seen over and over and over again. And I get so tired of having the individual conversations that it's like, all right, let's let people find out what the issue is with these things in a place where this sort of feedback can sting. So being able to watch a video like this may allow you to feel, that you can kind of process it without being put on the spot. Now, if you are confused about some of this and want specialized attention, sign up for a Leanna Care session or help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. Again, Leanna Care's link in the description box below. Like and subscribe if you like this content. The first one is, I thought that was a given. There's no such thing in communication. If you don't say it, a person can't know you think it. This was inspired by a conversation where, it was involving some drama last week, and this person just tore me a new one in comments and then DM'd me afterwards to continue the conversation. And after I spent, about a day backing this guy down, and I told him, I'm out. I'm not talking about this anymore. And he said, well, that's too bad, because I thought you made some good points. And I was like, at what point did you think your reaction to me would indicate to me you thought I made some good points? Well, I thought it was a given. And I hear this from men much more than I hear that from women, because women are trained by society to be much more agreeable, to give much more praise. You have to be careful with giving praise to men because, again, of that fear of giving the wrong impression. But because women are so trained to, whenever you can possibly say something nice or complimentary, do it. The whole, if you're going to be critical at all, make sure you say something nice too, partially because it's polite, partially because it's agreeable, and women are statistically, science has shown, women are expected to be more agreeable and conciliatory and cooperative than men in society. And quite frankly, a lot of us are sick of that. And I know the differences because for 7 years of my early television career, I had to write for male characters in a male voice. And I became distinctly aware of how different it is than how you write for women. And these things are real, and it does cause issues, especially in friendships and romantic relationships, but also at work. If you've got staff, male and female, be more openly praiseworthy Don't assume these things are givens, because we know that men receive far fewer compliments than women do, because women compliment each other a lot more. And there's a lot of guys walking around like they feel like they can't do anything right. And a sincere compliment is really powerful. And men tend to prefer, I prefer specifics. I did a good job here, or I, made a good point there. I can't stand oh, you're so this. Like, no, don't judge my entire character, please, because I know how fleeting that is. You're hot one minute, you're ugly the next. It's meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. Some women like those generalized compliments, but normally it's stuff like, hey, I really like your bag. I really like that, the pendant, your earrings, stuff like that, your glasses frames, specific, right? Tell people what they did right. Don't assume it's a given when you are dumping criticism on them. And again, this is a common thing. And it's amazing how many times when I ask, why did you think I would get that impression? Well, I thought it was a given. There is absolutely no given in a subjective opinion that is in your brain regarding another person. And this, I'll move on to, it was going to be number 5, but that's a good segue to number 2. Another thing that focuses on subjectivity, meaning you treat someone like a human by recognizing that their perspective is not going to be the same as yours, and that's amazing and precious. Okay, this is sort of the flip side. Someone says something bothers them, that they didn't like something, and there's this knee-jerk response saying, well, it doesn't bother me, or I disagree. This is absolutely irrelevant to whether it does or even should bother this other person. And I find this is a very common thing in talking to men that doesn't really happen with women. With women, it's more like, I see why you feel that way, or I could see how you feel that way. I have this other perspective, but it is an active validation of their perspective. Think about it. If someone says, well, I really don't like a particular word. Well, I don't agree. What, you don't agree that I don't like a particular word, right? Or I really don't like that sound. Well, it doesn't bother me. Think about what you're saying really in real terms functionally when you do that. You are sending the message that you don't give a shit that something is making the other person uncomfortable. That's usually not what people mean by it, which is why I'm saying this is a communication thing. Whether something bothers me or not is not relevant to whether something bothers someone else. And this is extremely important regarding validating each other's humanity and worth. Think about it. If every time you said to somebody, oh, that really bothers me, someone said, I disagree, or, well, it doesn't bother me, you wouldn't feel terribly accepted, would you? You wouldn't feel like you belong. And a lot of guys are saying, well, that is what I get. Exactly. And that lack of feeling of belonging, that fear of trying to connect because you may be rejected and mocked, that's what keeps a lot of guys stuck in that, male socialized, don't be a wuss, work hard, be quiet, never let them see you bothered, right? Like it's the shutting down the emotions, it's the silencing needs. It is so ingrained that men do it to other people and don't even notice. So let's break that cycle. Now we're going to get into, let's do the one off the top. And this came in a comment where, on Friday's video where, because someone someone told you to inform yourself before you go running your mouth. That's unhinged. You're literally an idiot. And I said, well, no, what's unhinged is calling me literally an idiot. It's factually inaccurate and an emotional response. But this, like, gutter ball name calling is so ingrained in masculine interactions in a way that it isn't in women. And I know this because I work in, every field I've worked in has been male dominated, right? So mental health is the first one that hasn't been. And I see how different it is. Like in gaming, in comedy, and, all this stuff, tech in general, you have to, well, as a woman, you recognize guys are going to insult you because they're treating you like one of the guys. It's seen as sort of this weird backward side of respect or checking you to see if you can take it. But you are very, very aware that you cannot give back in kind because insults from women sting men like a hydrochloric acid burn. Because so many guys are just, they so desperately want the approval of women. It's not intentional. It's not constructed. It is very real. And therefore, think about what you're doing when you're doing that. You fucking idiot. Why? Why did you feel the need to go, you are literally an idiot? It's not literally true. You just sounded like an idiot right there. First of all, it's bullying. It is. If you want to say an idea is stupid, I don't think that's the best call, honestly, just because it's not the most persuasive. But this normalization of just attacks on the person, it is bullying. And people go, no, it's not. It happens all the time. Well, bullying happens all the time, guys. Like, think about it. You don't like it. It's usually done by guys hiding behind anonymous screen names, or at least pseudonymous screen names. Why is that? Because the internet is too shitty a place to put your real name and reputation behind things like I do. Think about it. You're not giving people a high opinion of you when you talk that way. The other problem is if you dish that out, you have to be able to take it. And I hear from so many guys that they have these like canon event stories about a woman being cruel to them that way and it utterly gutting them. And there's a disconnect from this hurt them so deeply. And yet this is the way they talk. Well, why? Oh, because I was hurt. So if I have to take it, so do you. Okay, but this has caused you lifelong trauma. Why would you do that to somebody else? Because you don't think you can have the same effect on someone. You're just some, insult yourself the way you want, right? And so it doesn't matter. She doesn't care. He doesn't care. It's not true, okay? Even if I don't personally care, I think it's the first time I've been called an idiot. I get called an idiot daily. I'm on the internet, okay? But the fact, every time I see somebody do that, like just go there. Don't even attempt to couch it. And no, this was not a troll. The account goes back to 2014. If it's a troll, it's a very, very well-cultivated account. But you sit there and go, this must be an incredibly unhappy person. Like, I don't know if he needs a serious sitting down or a hug more. Either way, I can't do anything about this. And it's just this exemplar of misery that you can't help, you can't support, you can't fix. You just get this daily reminder of how many utterly, deeply unhappy people are out there. Because when you talk to other people that way, you are signaling that that's how you talk to yourself as well. And so the mask is dropping and you're letting people know what low self-esteem you actually have. That is your own self-loathing leaking through. Because people that don't talk to themselves like that because they know it's bad for them don't talk to people that way as a rule. I mean, it takes a lot for me to go, that guy's an idiot. It's never complimentary when I say it. And there has to be like a regular pattern of behavior. I have to be reasonably certain that this is someone, especially when you put literal in front of it, this is somebody who has to be like mouth breather low intelligence, right? And I can say mouth breather right now because the stupid Invisalign makes you mouth breathe at night. Oh my God, I wake up like I'm like Homer Simpson now. I never used to do that. But it's unnecessary. It's not helpful, and you're telling on yourself. So, if you want friends, if you want people to want to talk to you, if you even want somebody to give your ideas merit, lay off on the insults. I don't care if you've had to take it. So do I. I don't think that it's an excuse that I get insulted on a daily basis, so I'm just going to go out and fling abuse around myself. That's ridiculous. I don't like bullies. Why would I be one? And insulting somebody like that is bully behavior. If you think somebody's idea is idiotic, okay. But you don't know most people well enough to be able to summarize their entire being as stupid. And I find people tend to call other people the things that hurt them the most. The things that they are afraid of being called, or they are called and they're flinging it around to lessen the sting. Or they've just been so beaten down by a lifetime of insults that they don't realize what it does. I mean, there are members of my own family like that. I see male members of my family go, what are you, an idiot? Or you're an idiot. And I saw the father do it to the son. And then the son does it to his own kids. And the entire male family line is an example of people who fell far short of their potential. They are not stupid people. But because their own father called them an idiot their entire life and called the cat an idiot and called the dog an idiot and all that stuff, and he thought he was being affectionate, but dollars to donuts, that son has a self-concept that they're an idiot and not in the humble kind of esoteric philosophical way of I know enough to know I know nothing. That's sort of where I'm at, but that impacts what you attempt. That impacts the risks you take. That impacts your risk assessments of things. How do you approach somebody that you think is really great if you think you're an idiot, right? How do you approach someone you find attractive if you're constantly calling yourself ugly? Most of the people that get called ugly on the internet are not. Just don't go there. So, think about what you're doing. It's not essential. It weakens your argument and it repels people. It really does. Just because a bunch of 14-year-old boys want to follow, Twitch streamers who talk that way. By the time people reach adulthood, most people don't think that's cool anymore. Don't appeal to 15-year-olds. Nothing wrong with 15-year-olds. They can't help it. We just know adolescent male development empathy takes a shit at that age. You don't want to be locked in that for the rest of your life. You're supposed to come back out of it by 18. Really. Think. Don't just react out of pain. Speaking of pain, these next two involve apologies that just make things worse. And it is possible, right? If you truly intend to apologize to begin the process of making something better, you have to be prepared to listen to the feedback from the other person and refine what you're saying. A lot of men, and I say this because I've talked to clients, especially with women, apologize to just stop the conflict. And while that is well-meaning and an attempt at self-preservation, it's a tactical mistake. And I described it as, acid on a relationship. It's not even toxic. It's not even poison. It just burns away at the relationship over time. Now, why? Well, because the other person is smart enough to know that you go, I'm sorry, and the conversation is just supposed to end. There's no questions allowed. There's no going, hold on, that's not what I asked you to be sorry about, right? Or that is structured badly. It's just, I'm sorry, walk away, storm off. You first of all, you don't seem sorry. Second of all, it's clearly a conversational shutdown. And it doesn't make anything better. What it does is it makes it worse. The next time you apologize, it's going to mean less because the other person is sitting there going, well, is he apologizing because he's really sorry? Or is he apologizing to shut me up? Considering the last 3 times he apologized to shut me up, what is it this time? Does the pattern continue, right? But some of the phrasings are so uniquely bad that I want to get into that. And again, a lot of this stuff is well-meaning on the surface, but it speaks to, and when I say ego, I mean constructed personality, right? It's a facade. It's a scaffold. The critical thing about apologies is the vulnerability aspect of it. And that means you have to be sincere. And that's more sort of getting on the id instead of the ego, right? And I had one guy sent me something recently, and I won't read the whole thing because I don't know if he's watching this, but I was holding my baby niece in my arms and I had so much time to think, and I thought back to how much pain and grief I caused you. And no, he didn't. But also that was all about him. Don't go, I have a niece, daughter, wife, so I understand women's pain. Part of the reason I was so hesitant to do men's content is because even though I work in male-dominated industries, even though I have a masculine speaking pattern, even though I work around a lot of guys, I talk to a lot of guys, I'm filed into honorary guy when I'm not a pick-me girl. Thanks, Anita Sarkeesian. Real feminist going after another lady like that. See, that's bitchy, right? But no, men can go, you say what? And I mean, okay, I grew up around black ladies. Black ladies also go, you say what? And so black women are defeminized by society, right? That does not make us men. All right? It doesn't. We don't know what it's like to live every day under that particular, shut down your emotions, silence your needs, pressure cooker. We get complained about if we're not emotional enough. So don't ever suggest you understand a woman's pain because now you're biologically or legally related to a woman. And, I responded to the guy and I said, do not make this about my feelings. There was no grief there. You treated me like your secretary. And the guy responded, I was vulnerable to show you that I was sincere, and you turned it into a knife and stabbed me with it. So he ain't sorry. He's not. The whole thing came across as, I am going to show you how great and benevolent I am, emotional little woman. And that is what I called him on initially. And in this particular case, I got the sense that this guy wanted to do the big emotional pageantry because he was still hurt and he wanted to talk about it. And sure enough, the first chance he got to complain, that's where the conversation went. He went back to picking apart my behavior, instead of recognizing that if somebody has a right to be angry at you, if somebody has a legitimate grievance with you, if you are legitimately sorry, there has to be an opportunity for that person to talk about that without you being so, this was supposed to stop. You were supposed to respond differently. If you want somebody to accept your apology, you have to let them respond authentically. Because again, remember, it's vulnerability, both people. And if you're going, well, I was vulnerable and you attacked me, I ended up saying, okay, that did not help. I'm not inclined to talk to you anymore since you basically accused me of a violent act. Right? Now, this is a very extreme case. I mean, almost comically extreme. But you see smaller versions of that. And I get the attempt at empathy. I get, okay, I'm putting myself in this person's position. But when you apologize, this is one of these things that men think they're doing a great thing by focusing on a woman's pain, a woman's grief, the pain he caused. And that's not actually the right way to go, because apologies are about what you did, not the other person's feelings. If it's just, oh, I hurt you, that's the problem. The problem's the other person's feelings. What's going to reassure someone is, what did you do that hurt the person? And in this guy's instance, he was somebody I had to throw out of the Discord server because he was DMing people trying to get their mental health information. And that person happened to be a woman. Very different picture, isn't it? It wasn't a former flame that broke my heart. No. It was a guy I had to make a mod call on. See what I mean? Yeah. The you treated me like a secretary thing was the fallout from that. And I won't get into that. That's just airing dirty laundry. It has nothing to do with the example. There's another variation of this, and this is the last thing that really, really, really watch. And this is not something men do exclusively. The reason it backfires so badly with men is I find men kind of blunder into this one, whereas women know exactly what they're doing when they say it. And so men will get a, oh, hell no reaction from women, because if one woman did that to another woman, if the woman herself did it, it would be entirely deliberate. And it's the phrasing, if you were hurt, then I'm sorry. That's not an apology, because it's not validating that the act in question did happen. It's a conditional. To anyone who was offended, if anyone was offended, well, I'm sorry. If anyone was offended, I'm sorry. If anyone took offense, I'm sorry. It's not, that's a politician answer. I mean, one of the big weird verbal tics that Hillary Clinton has, and I have no idea what this is about. She's clearly been coached, right? Instead of saying, I am sorry, she says, I regret that. And someone gave her that talking point, because I am sorry would be way more powerful because she's a woman, because men live in fear of women leaders who can never admit they're wrong because they may have been raised by a mother like that. So the male never admit you're wrong doesn't work for women. So that male politician, I regret that happened. It doesn't go far enough. Women are expected to apologize and apologize and apologize and apologize to our mothers, to our sisters because our mothers make us, to our relatives, to other people in school. And yes, a lot of boys have experiences of being forced to apologize to someone in school. Does anybody like it? No. And so when someone goes, if you were hurt, then I'm sorry. There's this immediate, what do you mean if? We just spent the last 10 minutes talking about the fact that this was hurtful. You know I was hurt. What's with the fucking if? And instead of going, good point, people just say, well, it's just a figure of speech. Yeah, but words matter, right? The more you try to back away from owning what you did, the worse it is, you know? Even when you didn't intend to hurt someone, if you realize something you did, you see how it went there. You know, like you didn't mean to oversleep, but you overslept on a day you promised to drop someone off somewhere. It's not, well, what do you want me to do? It's, yeah, I blew it. You know, I said I was going to be there. I wasn't. I overslept. I was really tired, but yeah, I put you in a bad spot. I gotta watch my sleep schedule better. I gotta get more sleep. You know, that's sincere. And that's not, I'm the worst person in the world. That's not, I'm a literal idiot. And you see how the two things are combined? If you don't talk to yourself that way every time you make a mistake, you can manage more sincere apologies. If your self-esteem is dog shit because your self-concept is held together with paper clips and glue, metaphorically, you can't offer a truly sincere apology because every time you get close to admitting you did something wrong, you jump from that was stupid to I'm stupid. That was bad to I'm bad. I told a lie there and got caught versus I am a liar by character. Do you see how much worse it is? And it continues to get worse when you can't own what you did. And a lot of guys feel like, first of all, guys get less praise than women. We've already talked about that. Guys, start praising each other, please. Thanks. But it's not masculine. Oh, I would know. That's gay, right? Like, it doesn't have to be. Are you gay? No, then it's not gay. And even if you are gay, great. Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares if it's gay? Like, Jesus, what year are we in? Right? The year of our Lord, who gives a fuck? But if you can't, if you're that guy who believes that apologies are weakness, people have the right to not accept that. People have the right to go, no, I expect people to own their mistakes because I own my mistakes. And when you start really owning it, believe it or not, one, it's easier to admit you made them. It's practice. You know, you get used to going, you know, I had good intentions here, but okay, fair point. You know? And I do think it's really important to not apologize when you don't see that you did anything wrong. You can say, look, I care that you're upset and I want to understand why. But by the time you've got to the point of apologizing, you better understand what you're apologizing for or it's empty. And if you were hurt, then I'm sorry indicates you don't know what you did. It's an if. It's just, well, on the condition that this happened, when the person you're talking to just spent a significant amount of time saying, I was hurt and it put me in a bad spot. And, you know, this is how you know they were hurt. What's with the if? It's distancing language. And distancing language is a major tell, again, in conversation. If you have to distance yourself from something, you're afraid of it. And again, canny communicators, people who are really listening, are going to pick up on that. And most people, especially especially in professional context, but also in social context, don't want to be around someone who can never really admit they're wrong, even if they themselves are a person who can't admit they're wrong. Make sense? Is it fair? No. Is it human? Yeah. You're responsible for you. Other people are responsible for them. When you correct these things and you start becoming aware of it, like, hey, maybe the girl you're interested in tends to pull the, well, if I hurt you, then I'm sorry. Or, could you imagine it? Like, if I cheated, then it was bad. Like, did they cheat or not? Right? If you notice her talking that way, maybe she's not as wonderful as you're putting her up on that pedestal. Please don't put women up on pedestals, okay? It's not good for anybody. Like them for who they are, not, the characteristics you're putting on them because you want them to be perfect and shiny and you think they're hot. So because they're hot, you're putting all these additional positive character traits that just ain't there because you want her to be perfect. Why do you want to be perfect? Well, if this perfect person likes me, then I must be good. You can't come into things like that. You've got to go, I'm good enough. I know my good qualities. I know what I bring to a relationship. I know what I will accept. I know what I won't accept. And those needs that I have been trying to silence my entire life, you know what? They're actually valid. I keep telling male clients, there's a need here, and that need is valid. And every time you say, it's not a big deal, or push it down, or I'm just stupid, or I should be better than this, you are ignoring that need. And that need starts to scream. And your depression, your anxiety, your issues socializing, your fear of being falsely accused or canceled, these are all your unmet needs trying to get your attention so that they can be met. If you have a need, you don't have to scream it to the world. You can keep it private. But the problem with a lot of guys is when I start working with them, it's like, well, what are you looking for? What do you want? What do you need? And they're like, I don't know. I've been depressed for so long. If you don't know what makes you happy, you can't be happy, right? And the reason I settled on a lot of these conversational points is that they tend to be tells that you are an unhappy person. And anybody who's done their own work and is secure themselves is gonna spot those things because they've done the work to undo those habits, both internally and externally. It's a loop. The way you talk to yourself reflects on the way you talk to other people, and the way you talk to other people can help retrain how do you talk to yourself. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. Like and subscribe if you like this content. And if you want to sign up for Leanna Care session for one-on-one coaching on this stuff, link in the description box below. Thanks for watching Manly Mondays.